This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have some old friends who are still new friends, Johnny and Jimmy from the Brrrn, B-R-R-R-N. Refrigerated workout, change your life. Get to Manhattan and get into a session. So why don't we start off, guys, and just talk about how you guys first met and decided to become partners, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Jimmy, I'm going to give you the...
Oh, he passed me the
imaginary maple leaf.
Maple leaf, yeah. We passed this. We like to talk over each
Maple
other,
Leaf.
so
I
we
like
do this
Maple.
weird pantomime thing. Yeah, we met in the fitness space in Soho. I was, with a variety of jobs that I had done, I was a private trainer in Soho, and I noticed Johnny, this guy with who had this caffeinated personality, and I learned about his background. Having worked as a former public health official. This is around 2013, 2014, and really just dug his energy. And, while this idea was sort of fermenting, I was, interested in what he was doing. He had an affinity for spandex like me. I wear spandex without the shorts over it, and he wears it with the shorts over it. So I was like, okay, we got something going on here.
He's a cleaner version of you.
That's right, exactly,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. He's PG-13, I'm R, R and above.
So I'd been in Italy, and all the Italians don't wear the shorts. And I'm also American. So I got to throw the shorts on,
Yeah, it's kind of like going to a nude beach. Be like,
Right?
you know what? I could do this, but I'd rather be a spectator.
That's right. Yeah, I'm like 0 to 60s. But anyway, so yeah, we met in 2013, and around 2015 we formed the business together. But there was a lot of stuff had kind of gone. A lot of things had happened in order for us to sort of go, okay, this is the guy to build this thing with.
Mm-hmm. And then from a standpoint of actually setting up a partnership agreement, figuring out equity splits and all that jazz, obviously that's something to say, okay, we'll figure that out later, or we'll figure it out now. Let's see what we're doing. So how did you guys, without giving, you don't have to disclose the percentages, but talk about how that kind of evolved?
It was on a napkin. Johnny's like, hey, so we're going to write this down on a napkin. His wife or fiance at the time was looking at it and was the,
she was like the witness.
She was like a notary,
witness,
in a sense, right? Yeah.
Oh,
witness,
really?
right? Yeah.
But I mean, to that point, it wasn't. We're 50-50 split. We're equal partners. We weren't. It wasn't even the equity. It was if we're going to go all in on this, and that was an iterative process of I had my background's in public health. We'll probably get into my background later, but I had to check the literature. I had to do my due diligence. We'll talk a little bit about Jimmy's background. I just had to make sure that he was going to be, I'm going to use the word, my business husband, because we literally are husband and husband. We have a baby. Its name is Brrrn.
Yep, agreed,
and
dude.
we ain't getting divorced. We're going to the finish line, and there's only one ending, and it's and it's making this thing take off and changing lives. So.
Yeah, it was a lot, Pete. I mean, we, this idea was, I thought of this in 2013, and it was something very close to my chest. It was, it was something that it was just another folder on my computer, and meeting Johnny and having gone through the personal stuff that I had gone through in order to have this be, it's sort of like having an inflection point, being the reason why this came about, honestly, besides Johnny's involvement, was I had lost my wife to cancer when I was 29, about 3 months into thinking of this idea. And I just had a whole different relationship between health and wellness, having lived through that experience. And so, when I came back after all the things a widower goes through with, with paperwork and just adapting to that new normal, Johnny was there as a friend, and also, I was just like, this guy's super invested in finding an innovative way to personalize health, and I was like, he's the other half of this. I knew it was bigger than me, and I think that for any entrepreneur who thinks of an idea or is sort of talking about it with other people, if the thing keeps you up at night, if it's something that is clearly bigger than yourself, then you need to find the right people to help make it a reality, and he was that person.
So were you sorry to hear about the loss and the chronology to get us here. You never know what gets you to the idea, what gets you to your next opportunity, or where the passion kind of flows out of. Right. But was your passion to start up this type of workout regimen, or was it to start a company in the fitness industry? What prompted you to say, okay, I want to start something innovative and new, or was it, hey, I love this workout and I think this concept, I need to make this commercial?
Right. No, that's a great question. I think going back to passion, my passion is ideation, is like thinking up of things and trying to execute on them. I mean, I came up to New York as a writer and performer. I got to work on SNL for a little bit. I got paid money to write ads that were on TV and in billboards. I was a nude art model briefly, which my parents weren't happy about, but it was more of a life resume type thing. But no, I mean, I think that
Jimmy, by the way, has huge prosciutto thighs. Like if we
plane crash,
I can tell you,
you're getting.
I'm gonna eat first.
Getting a bite, right? But my passion's also people too. I'm a son of a small town hairdresser, so I saw entrepreneurship firsthand growing up with my mom in her small town beauty shop in Pennsylvania. So the ideation was sort of like a foundation for me to be constantly curious about things and surrounding myself with different types of people so I can see things from multiple vantage points. I'm also a former Division I wrestler, so I've trained in the opposite temperature my whole life. I thought that excessive sweating was the barometer for a great workout.
Sure, and grapefruits,
and
right?
Exactly, right? So so losing like 7, 8, 9 pounds in a day to make weight was good for that sport, but wasn't great for a perspective about health and wellness. So
of water weight too.
Water weight specifically, right? So like you would cut this weight, gain it all back, right? But I didn't realize that like winter was when wrestling season happened, right? And so running early in the mornings, even shoveling snow for my mom, like to make sure that her customers didn't slip and fall at our house. Like winter was always the backdrop of my upbringing, and I found out, Johnny, he's from the Midwest, and it was also his too.
Go Pack, go.
That's right. Wisconsin. It was actually Bucky the Badger for University of Wisconsin. So
is that right?
Yes.
Right. I was also a competitive D1 athlete.
Spandex underneath that outfit or no?
Fur. Well, I mean, sometimes I didn't wear anything under the fur,
Yeah.
But for
obviously.
That's for a fact.
Overalls,
That's for a fact right there. Yeah.
It's like one of the mascot benefits, right? No one really goes in there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, who is this guy?
Were you a son of? Did you have any parents in the hairdressing industry or no?
Close though, right?
So my dad is was a soap salesman. My dad's now retired. Okay. So he worked for Dial Soap his whole life.
What you need for when you're freeballing it in those.
Which you definitely do.
in your costume.
You definitely do.
This is now turned into the R-rated version.
That's right.
The
Our
Halo
unsuccessful
talks.
Netflix special is coming out next year.
We're gonna launch this after 9 p.m.
That's right.
Something that's kind of interesting about kind of passing the baton is, I would have never have thought of exercising people in a cold fridge in a million years,
right.
but that's where Jimmy came in. But the execution of it is kind of where I've excelled. I grew up. My dad worked from home. He covered the Midwest for sales for Dial Soap, right? So selling through distributors, et cetera. But, he was a one-man show, grew up with his super organized office. He had a fax machine. He had a computer in the 90s, which was unheard of. And so his systemization and just going in as a kid, asking him if we can play catch, and him saying, yes, let me just do this one, X, Y, and Z. So that kind of was infused in me. But I grew up, ended up working for the health department here in the city, worked for former Mayor Bloomberg on his obesity task force, was part of the built environment program. I've co-authored a paper on just a built environment practice via stair use in everyday living as a means to curb obesity. And so this theory of how environments can nudge behavior is just, it's in me. And so I meet Jimmy and I'm like, this is insane. I'd never thought of cold like this as the most primal environmental nudger to stimulate exercise.
Right. So, we met several years ago when you guys were, kind of looking for locations and saying, okay, we're going to test this out. How much of it did you feel like was an experiment and understanding like, hey, we're doing an experiment versus, like, hey, we're building this business and we're going to get multiple locations? Because when we met, there's a lot of different things being thrown at the wall on the boutique studio side. And I'm sure when you're talking to investors and you're talking to friends and you're like, where does this fit? Does it fit? Like, are you guys out of your mind? Like there's got to be a lot that you kind of had to weather. No pun intended, right? When you're like, hey, we're going to do this refrigerator workout. And you're like, dude, like keep your day job type of thing. Like, how did you kind of fight through that?
Yeah.
And then how do you feel now?
Yeah, oh my God. I mean, yeah, gosh, there's so many phases. I think the first phase for me was, so my answer is it's still an experiment. And I think any business is an experiment. We are a living, breathing organism, and we have to constantly adapt and listen to our community.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
the first trials were insane. We did it in SixPoint Brewery in Red Hook in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said no to us, crazy dudes exercising in their fridge. But then we tested it on other people in Jimmy's hometown in 30 degrees. And that was good and bad because we got as cold as we can go. It was 30 degrees. I'm going to call the big Jerry word the nadir because we saw the pros and cons of exercising in cold and just some of the associated risks that we needed to understand. But then we knew, okay, this was bottom of the barrel, how cold we can go. Let's go a little bit warmer and let's see what happens.
Yeah, and when we came in touch with each other, Pete, we were just trying to understand like the industry. I mean, someone like yourself, we were like, oh, let's have this conversation. And after our conversation, we heard no like 300 times in pitches, and all of those no's were helpful into us getting our eventual yeses to be in literally the shark pit of boutique fitness in the entire world, right? In Flatiron, Chelsea. So, so I think like for anybody that's starting a business, or at least anybody that's like passionate about doing something, rejection is necessary. There's a necessity of no's, and people. I think that there's in the generation that we live in right now, it's important to sort of not get what you want. I knew as an improviser, like you live in this yes and world, like you're trained to sort of support your scene partner, but they also teach you that you can deny the act, you can deny the character, not the actor. So if I say like, oh my God, Pete, it's the end of the world. You can disagree with my character, but my impetus, my suggestion is, as an actor, you agree with. You have to sort of like build this world with me.
Interesting.
So as that parlays with raising money, it's important to be supportive of one another. Like we yes and each other on like what we want this thing to be, but it was in those no's that allowed us to see where the road was ahead of us because we didn't really know.
Yeah, I think it's important. And Johnny, you kind of hit on this, that people really need to understand. Like when you do a friends and family round, it's a friends and family like backing experiment A,
right? Yeah,
and then,
right,
like you get the next round of investment because the first experiment is either worked or like you've pivoted to something that's interesting and you need to fund the next experiment. I feel like, and I said this on a couple other podcasts, but like these ideas of getting like series A, B, C, D, E rounds is because the company's performed and you have the right to go and get more capital because you're building on a milestone and that there's an opportunity that you've said, okay, this is a profitable business model. I feel like some people lost sight of like why you're allowed to get more capital is because you've proven something.
100%. I mean, even when you're an actor, everybody, like any people who aren't represented by a union yet, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna be rep by Gersh or like one of the bigger brands. Like, no, you gotta do the student films, you gotta take those classes, you gotta build the resume. And to your point, we needed to try things out and sort of understand what our voice was in this very crowded space before we, got the attention of people that can really help make this a scalable, vertically integrated company with us.
So once you opened the doors and kind of started to listen to the feedback, some of it's, I know you guys are like as hands-on as it gets, so it's not like you guys are sitting there like
very
waiting.
handsy people, yes.
Yeah, not waiting for like an Excel report and somebody saying like, oh, let's figure out what the data means. Like you're fucking living that every day.
Right.
Like, forget about what people look at on the data. Like what do people say? What's their reaction? What's their mood? What is their face? Like
Totally.
Talk for a minute about like you guys both being in there all the time versus some other groups that we've talked to or we've done business with where it's like, well, you're showing me this location. You haven't been in here in like fucking 6 weeks. Like, how can you tell me anything about it?
Right.
Yeah. Man, I mean, we built everything on top of doing cold. We look to our predecessors and, some of the milestones, some of the things that, our community has done, like the Soul Cycle founders, Elizabeth Cutler and Julie Rice. I mean, it's incredible what they've built. We wouldn't be here without Soul Cycle. And kind of taking that and doing, maybe it is version 2.0, maybe it's 3.0. But, trying to do it better, different has been interesting. So for example, even how we launched with a new CRM platform but typically, if you're a SoulCycle or you're a tread company, you're putting in bikes or something, we had to put in a whole new system of an exercise modality. So we have 3 classes. So that's 3 different layouts. That's working with a graphic designer. We then realized we had, too many people in one of the classes. So we had to redo the PDF, rework with. And so what I'm kind of getting at is just the day-to-day blocking and tackling has been super important and it's communication and rolling out an entire, sure, it's easy for Jamie and I to say, edit this, do this, edit it. But then when you're, choreographing and conducting a team, then it takes a little bit slower, but still we've had to move and adapt very quickly. I think that's been our success.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you want to inspire your community to help keep the lights on, you have to signal through them. So we've been very communicative with the people that are our members, the people that come to us, once a week, 3 times a week, once a month, and asking questions and not being afraid to be like, what do you like? What do you dislike? And that data is super important. We also taught, I still teach classes. Johnny taught classes early on, and we co-developed the program, and we hired great instructors who aren't afraid to tell us this is not working. It's an idea meritocracy for us. Best idea wins. And I learned that in the writer's room, where it's the best joke wins. I don't care how long you've been here, the best joke wins. And for us, we wanted to deliver a no joke workout experience. And in order to do that, we had to be on the ground floor and not in the box seats making decisions.
Gotcha. So take a couple minutes and just talk about what the workout entails and what kind of results people get and how that differentiates.
Yeah, totally. So we went to market and labeling our workouts 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree burn, which was a good joke, but terrible way to get people to understand what they're going to work out. And so we went to market with a class called Flow, called Slide, and called HIT. So Flow was like a yoga-inspired class, which did well, but not as well as the other classes. So we ended up bagging that and sort of are cultivating right now a new way to offer that to our community. But currently right now we have 3 classes. One's called HIT, which is with battle ropes and with weights. We have a class called Slide, which is a lower impact class that uses an ultra slide board to work on lateral movement. So think like a Pilates cardio class. And then we have a class called Hit and Slide, which is a trifurcated model where we're doing battle ropes, weights, and slide boards all into one class. And we, Pete, we want it to be machine independent so that we can move upon the demands of our community.
Gotcha.
And then just in terms of the science, so it's 50 degrees, and so the science basically suggests and supports this idea that you burn fat, you burn more calories, you can acclimate to cooler temperatures. But for us, the biggest thing is it actually improves performance. So there's studies on marathon, times, running times, treading times, and it's the low 40s and the low 50s that give you the best results. And this has also been able to extend us to some really cool competitive brands like Under Armour. They've shot a commercial with us. It was a promotion for one of their new
cold gear lines.
Yeah, cold gear lines. But just even for them, like improving performance by 1% is it's super significant.
Yeah, it's like that Nike shoe that's like 5% better for marathon runners. It's unbelievable.
I think people are realizing now. At least they're realizing in our space that in order to be a company that really gets people's attention, you have to work on the workout environment, not necessarily the workout. There's a lot of mutations of workouts, and we knew that in order to be the redwood in the forest with what we're doing, that we had to completely flip the script and say all the things that you've been told about performance aren't true anymore. If you want to have a superhero cape on your back from the moment that you walk in to the moment you walk out, turn the thermostat down.
Interesting. So from a standpoint of, I think what a number of the boutiques in general have forgot is like people are coming here because I want to have noticeable physical results and I want to have noticeable better feelings. Right. And I feel like a number of groups, like, I don't know, I go cycling a lot. And there's not one person in that studio, including the instructor who I know by first name basis and the 3 people that work at the front desk, not one of those people have ever asked me, what am I trying to achieve? And that's shocking to me, given the amount of money I'm spending and the amount of money they see that I'm spending. Shouldn't somebody say to me like, hey, well, how can I help you reach your goals today? So you guys are obviously building a community. You guys have like this DNA of like, hey, I'm going to help people get to achieve what they want to achieve. So how have you guys thought about either personalizing it or noticeably like using the information or like the trainer instructor knowing the people that are in the class? Because that I think is going to be like the next wave of like why should I pay that amount per class, even if there's a downturn? Because I'm getting fucking results.
Right.
See, that's what I'm doing here.
Yeah. No, look, I think
I think just to interrupt you, Jimmy. So something that's interesting is we had to go to market, Peter, we had to go to battle just basically substantiating the science, right? And so we came out, had all these claims. We're basically trying to debunk this myth that a hot and sweaty workout is a good workout. And guess what? It's worked. Like the media's picked up. We've been in everything. We've been in the New York Times twice in the last 5 months. We've been Good Morning America, Live with Kelly and Ryan, you name it. And it's with just the backbone of what we call the cold hard facts. But now I think we're in phase 2, and it's getting into the fact that even why I work out, why Jimmy works out, is not necessarily for vanity, but to feel great. And so we have a new ad campaign coming out that's tapping into that side about we're polling our community now. We have a big survey that's coming out that's asking exactly this, but we already kind of already know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you feel better, you're going to look better. For the longest time, the boutique exercise scene was about, living better being a popularity contest. And we joke, we say we're cool because the thermostat says so. So, and another part of that personalization is we have a lot of our about 90% of our instructors are also personal trainers. So you feel like you get that personal training workout within a group exercise setting. We've piloted some personal training in our fridge. It's definitely part of the bigger picture as we scale, having a mini fridge. But to your point, the worst thing that you can experience is when you walk through the doors and you're investing in this concept and people don't feel like they're investing in you. So we have a tremendous team where we have a warm experience when you walk in, and obviously a cool experience when you work out. But people know your name. They're saying, "Hey, 100th class, congratulations!" We have incentives for our customers to want to invest in us, and I feel like that makes a difference with whether or not brands stay for a little bit or whether they stay for a long time.
Got it. We'll just plug the location address while we're on the topic here before I forget.
Yeah. So it's at 107 West 20th Street. So it's between 7th and 6th. So like if you know where Kleinfeld Bridal is, where they do say yes to the dress, or
fun fact, Jimmy's fiance, she said yes to the dress.
She did, yeah. So we're getting married in June.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Congrats to Jimmy.
Thank you.
And Rachel.
Thank you.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool and warm.
That's right.
Warm reception, cool.
Cool experience. Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
So as you look at what you guys have built and say, okay, look, we got our one location right now. What are your aspirations and what's going to be personally gratifying to you? Because some people come in to us and say like, hey, I want 500 locations. Like, okay, you got one right now.
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan? And part of it is how big does it need to get to kind of satisfy your personal objectives?
I honestly, I think I can speak for the both of us. Like we are extremely happy that this happened. I mean, again, going back to those Noes, it didn't have to happen. Like
right.
there's so many. I mean, especially here in New York where there's so many options. We're happy that we're able to exceed our goals month in and month out, and to increase our top line revenue month to month. And that out of like literally, there's around like 30 plus options within 2 to 3 blocks around us. And the fact that people are choosing to come to our classes, that we're able to be sold out during our prime time spots, makes a difference. And the fact that people are saying great things about us makes a difference, not just about the workout, but about the entire experience. So I think the long-term goal is to constantly continue to be the biggest skeptic of your own product, because I think that's how you make progress, is to recognize that you need to make mistakes first. And we've done that, and we're constantly finding ways to revise this script, but surrounding ourselves with great people. We admit that we're new operators in this game. We have a tremendous team. We're continuously building that team, and we're looking ahead. And the emails are coming through. There's international exposure, and there's also international interest with us helping people keep their cool year round.
That's great.
I think just to piggyback off of that, I think, and again, it's funny, we're two brains, one body in many ways, but I think just to my background's in public health, was working for the public health department, doing obesity prevention, and, today heart disease is still the number one killer, right? It's not cancer. People are, and that is from our environment. And I think, the personal gratification for me is for people to be talking about this disassociation that we've created with with heat and a sweaty workout. And that I want people to be going, oh, you know what? Actually, cold is really good for me. I want people to start finishing their showers on cold. I want people to be more familiar with, or be more comfortable with getting uncomfortable, with shedding a layer and going for a run, whether it's in, southern Alabama or northern Wisconsin. And that will be as a direct result, I think, because of us and because of this movement that we're creating.
I mean, you had Avi Greenberg on the show, and we just had our thing called Breath Club with him, where we did the Wim Hof, and it what a tremendous influence to help validate what we're doing, but in a different way. Those are value adds, right, to your customer by having these we're doing a thing called the Cold Turkey Challenge, where we're encouraging people to do 7 workouts in 10 days, and they have a shirt that says, I didn't quit cold turkey. I mean, like we're finding ways in observation of the people around us and what's working for them to sort of personalize it in our own way. And it's working, which is really exciting.
Great. So from a standpoint of having the market understand, like, where do you think you are in like the spectrum of, maybe in Flatiron, like it's pretty well,
it's funny,
understood.
We're talking to people. It's we have a friend. He was lying in bed on a Saturday morning a couple of weeks ago, and we popped on CNN. And so this is a social media war. To a certain extent,
yeah, sure.
Fitness is it's we have to saturate the market, and we have to start with our backyard. And so right now we're super razor focused on our backyard, but I think what's also important is that it has to make sense. And so this makes sense, we think, because we are currently in a culture that's addicted to comfort, and we can store fat in excess, and the reason we can store fat in excess but not protein and not carbs or not even alcohol, ethanol, is because we've evolved with this thing called winter. Winter doesn't come anymore, and we're celebrating it at Brrrn. It is a human primordial thing, and so that's what it's about. Edutainment is as I've learned from Jimmy.
Having worked in advertising, it's very hard to get people's attention, and so to do it in a clever way, in a meaningful way, where you're almost like throwing a shoulder in the chest of the people that are consuming your content, where they go, oh, what's this, is important. And we're learning how to do that along the way. We're being a lot more bold with the messaging. We found out early on, just because we're 2 small town guys with sort of middle class parents, that we got like friend zoned in our brand initially. We were like a little bit too like, hey, how are you? And the desirability wasn't there. So now we're shifting more towards like friends with benefits. So now we have a little bit more of an elevated look and feel to our brand, but you can trust us, right? We're not going to dupe you. This isn't about, how many photos we can put on Instagram that are going to make you like want to, be in bed with our instructors. It's about like, what are you guys about? Why, can I see myself in this brand, in this community? And will I refer somebody that I care about to sort of join me in this movement with you guys?
Awesome. Well, on that note, make sure you get a Brrrn workout. Keep it cool.
That's right. That's right.
Then get warm.
That's right.
Get results. And that these guys are here looking out for everybody's best interests. So great to have you guys on the show.
So
I'm glad we did this.
Good to see you. Yeah.
You guys have made substantial progress since the last time we met.
Yeah.
We've shaved our face and we've cleaned our teeth. The teeth are very stained when you try to run a business.
No, anytime you go from like a PowerPoint to a location, like things happen. So keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys in for a workout.
You got it.
Awesome.
Look forward to seeing you. Thanks.